All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Housing Committee for February 13th, 2019. I'm Paul Krikorian subbing in for the chair, joined by my colleague, Mr. Harris Dawson, and we are ready to begin today's meeting. Mr. Harris Dawson, I would propose items 2, 3, and 4 for consent approval, unless there are questions or concerns that you have about those matters?
Sure.
All right, then it will be the action of the committee to approve the recommendation on number 2, 3, and 4 on consent. We have, well, we'll go ahead and proceed on with item number 1.
Item 1, CAO and ACLE-PALA reports relative to request for authorization to issue commitments and support letters to existing affordable housing management pipeline projects applying to California Tax Credit Allocation Committee in 2019, Round 1, and related matters.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Tim Elliott, Housing Community Investment Development Manager, and I'm here with Yaneli Ruiz, who's in charge of our housing pipeline. So as the title says, we're asking for support and funding for 4 projects that will apply for tax credits on March 4th, and then there's 2 actions on 2 other items, prior items that we need some cleanup on. And
okay.
I'll ask Yaneli to run through the specifics.
Great.
Great, thank you. So we have 4 projects applying under the TCAC Round 1 due March 4th. We have 1 project applying in the special needs set-aside, and then we have 3 projects applying in the geographic. 2 will receive our letter of support for the tie-break portion, and 1 is applying as an alternate. The total units proposed, if all 4 receive funding from the TCAC, will be 322 total units, with 283 low income. We also have 35 set aside for households earning at 80% or below. And we have 126 units that are set aside for supportive housing. 2 additional items that we are asking for approval is additional funding for a project, Rampart Mint. They are requesting for an additional $400,000, and we are recommending for approval. And we also have Florence Mills. After they received their tax credits, they were underwritten, and we are de-obligating a total of $113 and $457 that they will not be, they do not need in their gap financing. So if you have any questions, we're here to answer any questions.
Mr. Harris Dawson?
Okay. Good afternoon, Emily Cervantes with the Office of the CAO. Subsequent to the release of our report, we want to make a couple of technical revisions and to clarify a few of our recommendations. So
Please.
I'm going to read them out loud. Recommendation 1 and Recommendation 2 of our report will remain the same. Recommendation 3 shall now read, amend Recommendation 4 to refer to the Lamp Lodge and Vista Bayona projects in Table 1 and adopt as amended. Recommendation 4 will now read, amend Recommendation 5 to refer to the Lamp Lodge and Vista Bayona projects in Table 1 and adopt as amended. New CAO report number 5 will read, amend Recommendation 6 to refer to the Lamp Lodge and Vista Bayona projects in Table 1 and adopt as amended. Recommendation 6 will be amend Recommendation 7 2 to obligate home, low and moderate income housing and housing opportunities for persons with AIDS funds for the projects listed in the HC's Recommendation 7-2 and adopt Recommendation 7 as amended. And finally, Recommendation 7 shall now read, adopt Recommendations 3, 8, and 9 of HC's report.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. Mr. Harris Dawson, I would like to ask that items 2, 3, and 4 be reconsidered because Mr. Spindler has asked for public comment on those matters. So thank you all very much. I'd like to call Mr. Spindler for his multi-item comment. 2 minutes. 2 minutes for multi-item.
Me 2 for the items, and he's also got 1 for general public.
That can wait. 2 items
Yeah.
for the multi-items.
He holds it late, bitch. Okay,
Speak to
so
the
now
item, please.
here we get to number 1, involving CD number 6. For the Hick Dick La report to affordable housing pipeline penis projects. Yes, and stealing California tax credits for not building shit. So yes, Herbason supports it, Nori supports it. Mr. Bonin is included. CD15, yes, but the problem it involves CD14. And currently the FBI says do not approve Mr. Kokoretz.
No, Mr. The indicted one.
Oh, Mr. Weezer, yes, so exclude him from this. He's a fucking felon. Too bad. Now we get to number 2. It's $18 million.
Yeah, Missouri Place.
Why are we giving money to Missouri? Fuck that place. No.
Number 3.
And this involves Mr. Marquisi, Wizard Harris Dawson, yes, and the $2 million for the Florence Morehouse Uncle Tom Affordable Housing Project. Yes, he supports it. He likes that. Nothing better than keeping the hood occupied with the hood, yes. That's what Mr. Kokorian always says. Then we get to number 4, the urban economics. Urban equals poverty. Urban equals black. Urban equals nothing. Number 4 is shit.
That was terrific.
Thank you. And finally, number 5. We don't have time. I support CD1. Fuck CD 8 and 9. Thank you so much.
All right, so public comment on all agenda items is now closed. And Mr. Harris Dawson, again, I'd propose approval of numbers 2, 3, and 4 to approve the recommendations in the CAO's reports on those matters. No objection. That'll be the action of the committee. On item 1, I would ask that we approve the recommendations as amended with the technical amendments read into the record by the CAO. And that will be the action of the committee as well. So that brings up item number 5.
Item number 5, CAO and HCI DLA reports relative to request for authorization to release a request for proposals for affordable housing programs and services within the University of Southern California Nexus Study Area.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Helmi Hisarick, Housing Director at HCID.
George Guillen, Housing and Community Investment Department.
Emily Zen Cervantes, Office of the CAO. Our office concurs with most of HCID's recommendations. They're requesting for authority to issue an RFP that's related to the University of Southern California Nexus Study Area. So we recommend adopting the recommendations 1, 5, and 6, which includes funding for a portion of existing staff to administer the program. But we recommend that the committee and council instruct HCID to report back to the mayor and council on the results of their RFP and to request authority to negotiate and execute contracts at that time, as well as funding recommendations.
Great. The only question I really had on this one, Ms. Hisarick, is that originally council had allocated the $5.95 million, and that number dropped in order to allocate a certain $300 and some million for staffing and administration of the program. Can you talk about that a little bit? How that came about, and why that was done?
Yes, I can. That came about because the city had authorized a position previously, a position to run the program, but had not allocated funding for that position. And so as we began to analyze where we could find funds to provide funding for that staff position, we had to reallocate resources from within the contract itself, or within the grant itself. So it is allowable expense of the funds, and so we basically pulled funds in to reallocate to staff.
Okay.
And the controller's instructions for the staffing funds, this allocates funds for current year as well as future year.
Okay. So is that going to be considered as part of your budget requests in the coming budget?
I presume it's part of the budget. There's $120,000 that is included in this recommendation for current year, and then the future year allocations would be included in the budget.
Okay. Okay, Sheriff Dawson, anything on that? All right, then with that explanation, we'll go ahead and without objection approve the recommendations number 1 and number 2 of the CAO's report. So thank you all very much. Anything else to add?
No,
Nope?
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that brings us then to general public comment. And I'd like to invite Daniel Garcia up for general public comment. Sir?
I have a question before I go with my public comment. Is the item number 7 about, is the item number 7 today? Item number 7? Yes or no? Because I was confused. No,
There's no item number 7, sir.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was going to speak on item number 7.
No, it's just items 1 through 5 on today's.
Sorry. Thank you. Anyway, I just want to, can you make that quick?
Yeah, actually, could we just start his time over because there was some confusion about that?
No. I am Daniel Garcia, System Chain Advocate, housing for community actively living independent-free. To remind you here that you guys have an obligation to affordable and accessible housing. If you do not comply, then about affordable housing, affordable and accessible housing, guess what? They're going to be sued again. And that's not okay. So I just want to remind you that you have a commitment. If you don't comply, then of course it's the other thing. And I want to make sure one thing. The neighborhood council need to be educated about the lawsuit. They need to. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Good to see you again. Mr. Spindler.
Yes, so we look at all of these things, Mr. Garcia's correct. You will comply with federal housing guidelines or have your asses dragged into federal court and sued for all this money and shit. And even though Mr. Weezer is on the eve of indictment, you still give him money. You're feeding the beast. You're feeding CD9 and Current Price, another potential felon, a beast. Yes, and what happens here? You drink coffee, you play with your telephones like a dick, and then you go and wear pink fucking shirts like your little girls. You're not. This is the big leagues, people. The FBI and the rats are everywhere. Think about the rats. The rat is Mitchell Englander, that piece of shit. And don't forget your buddy, Felipe Fuentes, ratting you out. You're headed to prison, you cocksuckers. Fuck you all.
There being no other action, business before the committee, we are adjourned. Good work.